Welcome back into American Basketball Media Days, Day 2. We just heard from the Cincinnati Bearcats, and now we shift our focus to South Florida, down in Tampa. Head coach Brian Gregory in his 6th season. You know, this is a team that was picked 9th here in the preseason poll. They've only had one winning season, Mark, since the inception of the American. What's it going to take to get back to the things that they did in that 2018-2019 season?
Well, they won 24 games 2 seasons ago, which was a USF record. And then since then, they've been able to really guard but not score. And Brian Gregory is acutely aware of that situation. So bringing in Tyler Harris, who was at Memphis, and a dynamic shooter, a diminutive 5 feet 8 inches tall on a really good day. But he's a guy that can create offense for this Bulls team that needs offense desperately. No question, they can guard anybody. They turn it into a rock fight. But can this team score? Tyler Harris is a huge key to that.
They also get Keyshawn Bryant, who's another 1,000-point scorer. So they're adding about 2,000 points to the team. That's certainly going to help.
It will. And let's hear from the head coach, Brian Gregory. He joins us right now from Tampa in the American Studios. Coach, with Russell Chiwa, to get him back after 4 months being stuck in his home country there of Cameroon, what's the single biggest thing that he brings back to your hard-nosed, tough team that you've seen so far in practice?
Well, you know, with Russell, obviously it was a strange situation. So we're just glad that we were able to get through it. And Russell came back in good shape, was working out there. Obviously didn't have some of the same basketball opportunities that he would have had during the summer here. But towards the end of last year, probably the last 12 games of conference play, he was playing as well as maybe any big guy in the league. Offensively, scoring over 10 points a game, getting about 8 rebounds a game. And he anchors our defense. In this day and age in college basketball, your defense has to start with your transition defense, and then it has to have great ball screen coverage. And Russell is as good as anybody, maybe the best in the country at guarding ball screens. He gives a lot of assistance to those guards as they're getting screened in a variety of coverages that we utilize. And he just does a great job of it. So we need offense from him, as Mark was saying, getting points around the basket with maybe some guys on the perimeter that have added to our depth, having him score in the low post, but also anchoring that defense that has been very, very good over the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, Brian, that defense shone through brightly with that road win against Cincinnati late last season. And now we do turn our focus to offense. And I know you are a laser-focused defensive guy, and there aren't many guys better than you in college basketball of the X's and O's on the defensive end. But now you've even pointed out that offensively you've got to get better, and you've brought in some new parts and pieces. Share with us how your team's going to be better offensively.
Well, you know, Mark, we talk about on the defensive end. All you have to do is you look at our league, and year in and year out, the top 4 or 5 defensive teams in terms of defensive field goal percentage, three-point field goal percentage, defensive efficiency, those teams end up in the top 4 or 5 in the league in their standings as well. It's a league that has great defensive coaches, and we got to, you know, really put our foundation on that. But what we need to do is what we did a few years ago, is our defense create some more offense in terms of forcing turnovers, forcing tough shots that we can get out and run. I think we'll be able to be much better in the transition game, especially in advantage break situations, 4-on-3s, 5-on-4s. We're able to finish those plays. We're not a great finishing team in any aspect offensively last year, so it's something that we have to get much better at. We need to get our possession total up from the 62, 63 into that 70 range. Again, you get that. It's, you know, when you hear it, maybe 5, 6, 7 more possessions a game, that's created on the defensive end. It's created playing with a little more pace. But the biggest thing for us offensively is to keep executing plays and concepts, but to finish those plays, either finish them at the rim when we drive it or finish them when we create high percentage shots. And then last year we're not able to do that, and that puts so much pressure on your defense. And to be honest with you, I never thought we'd be a top 50 defensive team with how poorly we shot the ball last year. It puts so much pressure on them, and to those guys' credit, they continue to dig in. We just need a little more balance in that, in not only digging in and doing a great job on the glass, but turning that into offensive production.
Hey, Coach, Brooke Weisbrod here in the studio. Jamir Chaplin is entering a senior year, having improved numbers every year. And not only has he given you good numbers, but I feel like he's trying to make steps to be more of a vocal leader. Would you give him that role, or who would you assign a vocal leader role on your team right now?
Well, I think you have to, in this day and age, you have to have multiple guys on different days, and in terms of the returners, he has the most experience. He's played the biggest minutes. He started out last year with a severe injury and didn't get really going until December. Then the first 5 games of conference play, he was playing exceptionally well. 15 points a game, shooting over 40 from the field, right at 40 from the 3. And we know his athletic ability and ability to rebound. He gets hurt on a dunk at Wichita State that put us up 7 and doesn't play, I think, the next 6 or 7 games. And that really, hurt us because how well he was playing. But he is improved in his vocal ability to lead. He leads every day by his work ethic, example, and so forth. But he knows everything now. He knows exactly what I need, not only from his position, but the other ones, and helping the 2 freshmen and Ryan Conwell and Doc, and helping the 3 transfers coming in is a big piece. And the one thing is, he's done a great job with the 8 returners. With that group, he's done a good job of setting the tone and tempo on a daily basis.
Coach Gregory, the media has some questions for you, so I'm going to send things over to Tom Fenstermaker with the American, who will field those questions. Thanks.
Great.
Thanks, Morgan, and thanks, Coach, for joining us. Our first question will be from John Tiedel of Hoops HD.
Good morning, Coach. I wanted to ask about Tyler Harris, kind of a unique situation in that you have a guy who you've coached against 4 times in the past several years when he was at Memphis. My question, did you bring him in so he would stop scoring double digits against you? And I know you don't play Memphis until December, but how big a part of the game plan for the Tigers will he be?
Well, I got tired of playing against him, and he always seemed to have great games against us. But obviously, as you go through the season, you watch players play and in all different games. I liked his ability to add a dynamic piece to our roster and what we're building for this year. Obviously, great ability to score the ball, great ability to shoot the 3, and gave him an opportunity to continue to grow and develop his overall game in terms of running the team, making plays for other people. Obviously, he's a pest on defense, can really get into the ball. So he's a big part of our game plan, no matter who we're playing, because we are counting on him to make an impact as a transfer, to utilize the great experience that he had at Memphis, the success that he was part of last year, bringing that attitude as well. Obviously, the one thing we always look at is, system, style, coachability. Obviously, he's played for one of the best around, and so we're excited to have him part of our family and our group as he heads into kind of his super senior season.
Brian, I know how you immerse yourself in a community and how engaged you are with the community, and obviously the hurricane comes through, tremendous devastation in South Florida. What has been the experience for you and your team living through that storm and the aftermath?
Yeah, obviously we were going to, 2 days before it touched down, it looked like we were going to get, hit pretty good. And it puts you in a tough spot because you're very thankful and blessed it didn't, but then you also know that people 2 hours south from us are really going through it right now. During it, it's interesting, our players from Florida just kind of hunkered down. They'd kind of been through it before. Some of our new players went over and stayed at the assistant coaches' houses that are a little north of the city. But, you know, our hearts go out to those people south of us that have been devastated by this. And I know we got some plans. We not only the players, but the athletic department as a whole has put together multiple care packages and different things like that to send down. And it's something that's on our hearts and minds all the time, because we realize just how lucky we were that it didn't touch down in the city of Tampa.
And Coach, as you move forward now with this roster, you're mixing and matching some guys who return, and obviously we talked about Tyler Harris, and you've got ability to really be better offensively. USF will go to the NCAA tournament if the veterans that played for us last year take another big step, and then the 3 transfers all have good to great seasons. They're all capable of doing that. As you guys mentioned earlier, they've proven it. Selton Miguel has played on the biggest stage, playing it 2 years in the Big 12. Keyshawn Bryant in the SEC, Tyler Harris at Memphis. Obviously, we're counting on those guys to have their best years yet. And that's the thing we challenge. We don't need any comparison. Just be the best version of you as a player. And once roles become a little more defined as we get a little deeper into practice, I think we'll have a chance to do that. We have to defend, we have to rebound, but offensively we have to do a great job of playing with pace and sharing the ball and finishing plays. That's one of the biggest things we have to do, finish our plays.
Coach, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Really looking forward to seeing your team tip off here in just a few weeks.
You got it. Thanks, guys.
Mark, for this team, Tyler Harris potentially really should be an X factor, but from him transitioning from Memphis to South Florida, what are the different, what's going to be his biggest challenge between these two systems?
Well, at Memphis, he had a lot of freedom to do a lot of things offensively. Although Penny reined him back, I felt like late last season, where he didn't think that he was necessarily the go-to guy and the focal point. So you've got to rein him in a little bit. And I think Brian Gregory will do that to work within the confines of the team concept. And I think that's going to be a key for USF. Can Tyler Harris stay within the offensive structure of Brian Gregory and be able to produce and also be a great teammate that distributes as well? That's a question I have about Tyler Harris. It's a question I've had about him for his whole career. I think he can do it. I think he's with the right coach to do it as well.
And I think he makes a point of saying finishing. South Florida can get the ball around the rim almost anytime they want to, especially with a guy like Russell Chiwa, but they haven't been able to finish plays. Right. You got to score, you got to finish, you got to win.
That'll be the difference maker here for them this season. And as we take a look, we'll hear from Jamir Chaplin here shortly. But in terms of, he really said he's going to have to rely on those veterans. What is Chaplin? What does his presence bring on the court? Well,
Chaplin's dynamic. He went off in several games where when he was healthy, he could take over a game. He could finish those plays. He was like the one guy. So in the scouting report, when you look at USF a year ago, you say, stop Chaplin, you're going to shut down their offense. And so he's not only a key cog this year, but he's got help. And I think that's where Jamir's going to be really excited.
And it's not just one guy. It's not just David Collins or Caleb Murphy that handles the ball, has to create the offense, and has to score. You have to have these other pieces. So that's why adding 2,000 points to the team, getting Chiwa back is key. This is a big year for Brian Gregory and the Bullets. They got to make some moves.
Yeah, and Caleb Murphy couldn't shoot. You didn't have to guard him, period. He's a road runner, up and down, could score. He couldn't shoot, flat out. How do you score with your point guard who can't shoot? Caleb. It's a fact. It's not an opinion.
Oof. Right. Curious. Hope you're listening, Caleb. Get that chip right there.
That's good. I'll gladly give it to him.
I'm curious to hear what he worked on this season, but we won't be hearing from him. We'll be hearing from his teammate, Jamir Chaplin. And he actually joins us right now here in the American studios. Jamir, for you having played against Tyler Harris in so many great games against Memphis, now having him as your teammate, what's the single biggest thing that he adds to this South Florida Bulls team?
Oh, he's been a big shot maker since I've known him. Since he was at Memphis and Ohio State, he's been bringing the energy and the toughness to practice. And that's what I picked up on him very early when I first played him in Memphis.
Hey, Jamir, Brooke Weisbrod in the studio here. I was talking to your coach about how every year you've really improved on your numbers. You've just become a better overall basketball player. And then I asked him about your vocal leadership. So I'd love to hear from you what that has been like, transitioning from being a guy that kind of speaks more with your game to being more of a guy that's speaking to your players directly on the court.
I think that's been a big challenge for me since, let's say 2 years ago, we just, had like 3 players return. And then last year, just the newcomers trying to get, some of the guys on page and how it is in South Florida. So my vocals and my leadership have improved since last year from the new team. I've been trying to, put the word out for how BG wants to run things in South Florida and trying to improve our teammates and our chemistry overall. So I think I'm trying to take leadership to another level this year and improve this year so we can be successful.
Jamir, it's Mark Adams. Great to see you. I'm looking forward to your game. Continue to blossom. I had you guys early, and I felt like you felt a little bit of pressure early on, and then you had some injuries to navigate as well. The new version of Jamir Chaplin, what can we expect this season as really now you've settled in as a Bull?
Well, I'm just trying to stay healthy. Like you said, them past injuries really affected last year for me. So just trying to stay healthy and improve my shot, my jumper, handles, everything, trying to take control of this team and take it to a whole nother level.
Next question will be from John Teetle of Hoops HT.
Hi, Jamir. I wanted to ask about your free throw shooting. You were only about 41% in 2021, but had a huge improvement last year up to 73%. So how were you able to do it? And do you think you can make it rise even more this year?
Oh, yeah, of course. There's nothing but practice and repetition in the gym. Like you said, from 44 to 73, all it is was stay in the gym and probably shoot at least 500 to 1,000 free throws and try to improve, my game. So at least this year I'm trying to get to at least 80% or higher.
Jamir, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Looking forward to seeing what you and your team can do here in just a few short weeks.
Thank you.